My name is Melissa Tubbs. I'm doing a book talk over the book The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. The setting is right here in Tulsa. It's considered a young adult fiction. It focuses on the Curtis brothers, the youngest of which is Ponyboy and his older brother Soda Pop, and then the oldest brother Derry. Derry takes care of the two younger ones, and because their parents have died in a train wreck. So the book is basically about Ponyboy having to come to some realizations and figure out why life is the way it is, and why do the Socs hate the Greasers, and why do the Greasers hate the Socs? Why can't they just get along? Some things happen in the book which causes even more strife between the two. It leads up to Ponyboy and his friend Johnny having to leave town, and Ponyboy tells Johnny about a Robert Frost poem that he has loved, and it has become pretty synonymous with the book. It's called Nothing Gold Can Stay. It says, nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. And he tells Johnny he doesn't really understand it, but throughout the book, Johnny thinks about it and he explains it to him. I will let you read what that means. But the one line that is in the book, it's the very first line. It becomes very important when you're reading the book later on. I'm going to read it to you because it is like my favorite line in the whole book. It's, when I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. I hope you read the book, and if you do, you will understand why that first line is so important. The book was written in 1967, like I said, by S.E. Hinton. She was only 16 when she wrote the book. She was a junior in high school. When it was published in 1967, she had turned 18 by that point. But it was very controversial then, and it still carries some arguments to this day with some schools. They consider it controversial because of the portrayal of gang violence, underage drinking and smoking. It has some strong language and slang, and it talks about family dysfunction. So you can imagine being written in the 60s that was a lot of stuff that they didn't like to discuss. So, but it is banned in some schools, but a lot of U.S. schools do use it in their English curriculum for junior high and high schoolers. It was also made into a movie thanks to a librarian and her 7th and 8th grade students out of Fresno, California. They are the ones that ultimately ended up writing to Francis Ford Coppola to please make it into a movie, which he did. Also, since it was in Tulsa, it was filmed in Tulsa. They filmed it in Tulsa, and the house was bought and made into a museum a few years ago. So if you read the book and love it as much as I do, go give that museum a visit.